Hello, everyone. This is Kelly Beard of KarmicTools.com, and this audio goes with the Neptune and Aries post, which went up in February but officially hits March 30th of 2025. Neptune is going to move into Aries. It's going to dip back into Pisces October to January, but then that's it for 165 years. And so from 26 to all the way to 2039, 14 years, Neptune is going to reside in Aries. And the last time it did that was 1861 to 1874. We'll talk about the last time in a minute. One of the challenges with Neptune is being clear about what I wanted to say about it. So this is kind of lengthy. You might want to grab some tea in your journal. And it's also just the entree. So it made me also consider that year to year over the next 14 years, while we will have the general energy of Neptune and Aries to deal with, the more relevant information will come from whoever interacts with Neptune up in the sky. So it may be that we do an annual check-in and see who that is and how we can consciously co-create with each activation each year. Right now, you want to think about the early degrees of Aries, Libra, and Cancer, Capricorn on that cusp of the last few degrees of Pisces. So late Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sag is all going to be affected really dramatically for this first year of back and forth. So let's dive in. This year, Neptune is only dipping its toe into Aries for a hot minute, and then it will slow down and back up into Pisces to close the door on a 165-year cycle of faith, imagination, and spirituality so that we can birth a completely new dream. 2025 is only an introduction to a 14-year process of evolution for a whole generation of folks who will be born during 2025 to 2039. Activating and embodying the incoming spiritual warrior archetype of Neptune in Aries. The rest of us will develop it within. If the moon represents the individual womb, then Neptune is the collective womb. As a collective, we are rebirthing the vision of self-sovereignty, of being whole unto yourself, but knowing innately that you are a unique spark and intricate part of a vast web of life. At the same time, the lens through which you see yourself, how you manage your own personal boundaries, and what you believe to be true or possible for your life may all need an upgrade. Okay, deep breath. This is what we can use it for in a positive way. The healing path. Neptune's time in Aries offers a path toward healing that requires both courage and surrender. To heal the wounds of our past, we must be willing to face them head on with clarity, integrity, and compassion. The deep work of this transit will involve confronting the individual and collective illusions that we have been holding on to and bravely stepping into a more expansive and interconnected reality. During this period, we will learn that true courage is not in forcing an outcome or asserting control, but in aligning with the deeper currents of universal wisdom and taking action that is in harmony with the greater good. It is a time for visionary action, a time when we must embrace the power of our own soul's truth and step into the unknown with the trust that the universe will guide us along the way. Ashe. Neptune's passage through Aries will not be a journey for the faint of heart. It will be a time of transformation where spiritual revolutions, shifts in collective consciousness, and a realignment of power will unfold. But it is also a time where each of us will be invited to step into our most authentic selves, to courageously heal the old wounds, and to dream a new dream for humanity, one that is grounded in spiritual vision, self-sovereignty, and unified action. Deep breath. Spirituality and the quest for truth. On a more personal level, Neptune's journey through Aries may inspire some to seek truth and meaning on their own terms, outside the confines of traditional institutions. It will be a time where the pursuit of spiritual awakening and inner exploration is something you have to find and develop for yourself. Conventional career paths or societal expectations will not be able to compare to your direct experience of God or source of your understanding. This is a period when you can reconnect with your innate wisdom and power to channel, embody, manifest, and experience source energy flowing through your body and directing your choices. It is time to explore new spiritual practices that reflect the energies of freedom and authenticity. We may also see a rise in alternative spiritual practices, where the mysteries of the cosmos are sought through direct experience of intuition, inner visions, and personal revelations. The sense of individual sovereignty over one's own spiritual path will become paramount, and many will begin to seek ways to transcend conventional religion or dogma, taking more time to explore mysticism, esoteric knowledge, and a deeper, more direct communion with the sacred or mystical. So I will say here just a little shout out that Jambalaya School is in the making with Yeye Louisa Tish, and that we are creating a brick and mortar place outside of Oakland, California, where we can come to learn these other spiritual practices that are more in alignment with earth and sky and nature herself, not going against nature, not violating nature to function. So, the dissolution of the old. Neptune is the planet of dreams, illusions, collective unconscious, and spiritual mysteries. It dissolves what no longer serves, pulling us into the fog of the unknown to guide us beyond the limitations of the material world. Aries is a cardinal fire sign, which represents initiation, raw action, and a pioneering spirit. Ashe. It is the spark of life, the hero's journey, and the warrior energy that propels us forward with a new sense of self, renewed courage, and deeper determination. When Neptune, the planet of faith and spirituality, moves through Aries, you discover that you have to be proactive about your beliefs and cultivate a spiritual perspective regarding your own personal identity and purpose. The next 14 years will slowly dissolve old paradigms of leadership, individuality, and self-expression, and reshape them in a way that prioritizes the healing of the soul self and the individual, and facilitates a return to authentic, integrated power to move freely through the world. We will all learn how to follow our intuition about right timing and right action. We will also have to be alert and fierce about our personal boundaries, which will come up often and in a variety of ways. So get ready. In the global context, Neptune's influence on Aries will prompt a reevaluation of power structures, especially those that have perpetuated war, division, separation, and conquest. There will be a collective yearning for new leadership models based on compassion, empathy, and visionary insight. Your individual purpose cannot be utterly self-serving, or you will drown in delusion. But if and when you begin to recognize that you are part of a greater, more interconnected web of life, then you can make new choices about what to believe and how to protect your individual self. We will likely see new forms of social movements arising that are focused on individual rights, justice, borders, and personal boundaries. Spiritual activism, another big aspect of the teachings that me and Yeye do. Because 3D reality may look chaotic and destructive, we have to work with and through our spirit team in order to be more effective. It is time to cultivate a disguise of the self. That's Neptune and Aries. Neptune helps us create that glamour. It's called a glamour. It's not glamour as in glamorous. It's glamour as in a disguise, an illusion that we can use as a protective shield of our true self as we navigate through the world in certain ways, in certain times and places where that's necessary. So it's time to cultivate a disguise, Neptune, of the self, Aries, that is not intended to deceive, but to keep you safe and protected from any chaos and destruction. We want to be invisible to the authorities unless or until we need them. And since often we are invisible to those moving through the mainstream reality anyway, we do have an advantage. We have cultivated a relationship with the ancestors. We have developed the connection with our spirit team, and we have learned to follow our instincts and intuition in order to know what is real and what is right for you, the individual. This is something we practice in all my circles and in all of Yeye's classes. Bucking the status quo or birthing the new reality is often met with resistance or outright violence. So we must disguise the revolution in our art, theater, storytelling, or play, which is traditionally how humans learned. And revolution, thanks to Yeye, is spelled with a small r, capital E, because we are evolving to a completely new level that Neptune is helping us birth in Aries going forward. This is a powerful evolution that's going to be a little bit of a slow cooking on the back burner for 14 years, so pace yourself. As I was saying, art, theater, storytelling, these are all indigenous ways of learning for humans, and we have to relearn how to activate our imagination to live a life of our own choosing. Activate that newborn baby don't know mindset in order to birth a new vision. It is time to be part of a unified community, but to also be proactive on your own behalf. If you are adaptable, flexible, and present, you can take advantage of some of these inevitable changes. Ultimately, it is time to dedicate to a greater cause, but in a covert way. Think Underground Railroad, a path to freedom that you have to choose and find cohorts along the way who are seeking the same connection with each other and freedom from oppressors, dictators, and petty tyrants. Okay, let's be done with all of them. Another way, and Ibaye, who's an ancestor now, used to have a shop in Silver Spring where she did what was called Egyptian body wraps, which help you lose weight or lose inches, as they say. But she said that was her cover. Weight loss was her cover to get people through the door. Once they got in there, you thought you were an Egyptian pyramid for real. And you got all this spiritual juju, which was hard for some of the DC people. DC was political, education. It was hard to get them to go into spiritual sacred sometimes. So that's what we mean by having a disguise, having a cover, having a protection around how you move through and who you interact with, and just being very, very present to your boundaries on an emotional level, mental level, spiritual level, and physical level. All boundaries need to be checked along the way all year long, this year and next, because this year that's on the cusp of Pisces, Aries. By next year, a lot of these big boys are going to be already into Aries. It's going to be a new rhythm we got to get used to anyway. That was one thing. The other thing I wanted to say was when we're working with the social or collective planets, and especially the collective planets like a Neptune, when I say take advantage of some of these inevitable changes, said another way is that you let these bigger energies carry you along so that you're not as labor intensive in what you're trying to do. These things are happening anyway. If you co-create, it can get a little easier for you because the bigger planets are moving great numbers of us along all at one time. Shadow aspects show up when you refuse to take up the responsibility and make the commitment to a greater cause than self. You can end up in exile, wandering aimlessly, or you can become a victim of the mass mind, which creates chaotic thinking and overwhelm, and a loss of the sense of self and self-value. This confusion and uncertainty limits your options, whereas spiritual activism is taking your power back to affect change and call in or co-create a higher vision. Let go of limited thinking and pettiness of it being all about you. In your vision for a greater world and your dedication to co-creating it, you will also get to have that experience and reap those benefits. So deep breath. It's like the work we do for ourselves unlocks the last 7 and the next 7 generations. This is the same thing when we pay it forward, when we build it and they will come, create space for something and it manifests, you automatically get to have the experience that you're hoping to provide for others. Let's put it that way. Spiritual warrior. This archetype is being born anew. If we tackle it in the traditional toxic way, we simply repeat the negative cycle of oppressed and oppressor. This current ingress provides the rare opportunity to embody your inner, wise, spiritual warrior who helps you survey the present, clear the past, and prepare for the future. It is time to be vigilant about your personal boundaries and be as self-sufficient as possible. Knowing who you are and what you want is vital to navigating in this new realm of possibilities. A certain confidence, faith, and integrity is going to be necessary as you choose where to spend your time, energy, and resources. We say that soldiers fight together, but warriors fight alone. So prepare yourself as much as you possibly can and surround yourself with other spiritual warriors. This links right into a lot of what I've said about this year too, and how we have to be individuals within the context of our relationships and communities. We need to remain sovereign. When we agree to commitments or partnerships or collaborations, there also needs to be a conscious exit strategy. Nothing lasts forever. Let's all think about when this has run its course or when it's time to renegotiate or rebirth the values at a new level or what have you. So it's like, get yourself together, be tight in your world so that any interactions with other people is clean. You don't leave any karmic debris and you don't pick up any karmic debris. Let's be mindful of our electromagnetic fields and recharge them daily and make sure they're strong and naturally magnetizing what you do need and naturally repelling what is not for you. Shadow aspects show up when you have unexpressed anger and negative emotions that do not have a proper outlet, okay? Aries is the athlete. We have to get back in our bodies with our spiritual practices, if that makes sense. We've been all in woo-woo with this Pisces energy. We've been floating around in other dimensions, gathering information, communing with our team on many, many levels about many, many different aspects of life. But now it's time to be it, do it, practice it, embody it. Give some of your emotions a proper outlet. Give some of your ideas a place to flow as well, without attachment to outcome. Let's put it that way. Free flowing. We're going to need some of that too. When you are not feeling strong and confident, this energy may make you oversensitive, over-emotional, and reactive instead of responsive. This can also cause hesitation, inaction, and self-doubt that you will want to be mindful of and catch it early so you can address it accordingly. Spiritual discipline is going to be absolutely necessary. If you do not have certain goals, focus, and discipline, you will likely get left behind as the new order takes root. In order to master anything, you have to be consistent, disciplined, and dedicated to the goal. Another aspect of spiritual discipline is doing the daily practice and showing up at your altars regularly. Do not be lazy about communing with your spirit team because you will miss out on all the miracles that are possible. It is a time for spiritual strategy, plans, and tactics to address mental, physical, and emotional issues, right? So we don't want to just fly by the seat of our pants. We don't want to wait till there's a crisis, right? Let's be proactive on that health end, especially our mental health, especially our emotional health, because that's what they're preying on. That's what a lot of these big cycles are shifting the energy to. It's not necessarily a war, but it's a war on your mind and your consciousness and your awareness, where you put your focus. That's been tricky ever since all this technology kicked off. But it does bring us back to proper boundaries. How much scrolling do you allow yourself, and then how much do you put that aside, get under the sky, and talk to your spirit team? We will have to train, practice, and prepare for the immense change coming so that when we are actually faced with this new dream, we can be direct, decisive, and skilled and responsive. We'll be able to respond to what we've called in, right? Get ready, because we've called it in. It's about to manifest. Shadow aspects show up when we lack adequate boundaries, a regular rhythm, and spiritual discipline. This is when things go sideways. When that happens, you are more likely to take things personally or overthink things, creating more confusion. Any lack of self-control, apathy, weakness, or fear will also trip you up with this energy. Okay, so that discipline is going to be so key. Neptune's not generally associated with discipline. But Aries, the athlete, the spiritual warrior, is absolutely associated with discipline and practice and showing up and doing the little things day to day to day so that you're prepared for the bigger rituals or the bigger things that we have to do in life. Spiritual courage and conviction is going to be mandatory over the next several years. If you do not know what you believe, or if you are weak-minded, it will be easier to control and manipulate you. It is time to be super clear and decisive about the vision that you want to embody and express. This is a whole new world that we are birthing at this time, so you will have to have that courage, clarity, and discernment in order to navigate effectively. Choose your path and commit to a full engagement with life. Keeping your six senses healthy and implicitly trusting and relying on your spirit team is going to be part of this. For your survival, think Aries, life force energy, spark, new beginnings, all that goodness. But in order to succeed, in order to let that root get strong, so that base is strong, so that you can grow tall and expand, you've got to cultivate that relationship so you can rely on it. They will give you the confirmation and the confidence to navigate in a way that honors your true, authentic self. Shadow aspects show up as selfishness and self-destructiveness that only causes more grief and cleanup to deal with. If you are sleepwalking through life, not choosing a direction, then one will be imposed upon you, and nobody likes that. If you lack adequate personal boundaries, then you may be victimized or abused. Again, nobody likes that, so let's be mindful of our boundaries. Earth and ecological healing. Neptune's influence over Aries also brings a sense of urgency around our relationship with Earth, and it is likely to awaken issues related to our oceans, including tectonic plates moving and volcanoes becoming more active. Aries is a cardinal sign, urging us to act with initiative and boldness, while Neptune asks us to attune to the spiritual dimensions of our planetary home. Okay, again, with getting back into our electromagnetic field, making that connection to Earth so that we can stay healthy while we all upgrade the frequency. That's another thing to consider. I remember researching this back in the day, and basically as of 2012, we can all check with whoever measures the frequency of the Earth. And I want to say it used to be 7 gigahertz or something. Now it's 14. It's like doubled. Whatever that frequency is has increased. And so our physical bodies have to catch up just like mama does. And we are going to have to be mindful of this rebirth and the rewiring that's going on to our children and everything else that's happening. It's a lot. I get it. That's why I had to break this down in so many different parts, because it's going to hit from so many different angles over that 14 years. So, of course, Aries wants to act and take initiative, but Neptune says do it in a spiritual way. Do it with your spirit team's approval. Let's say that too. This transit will likely stir deep feelings of responsibility to heal the Earth, not through mere physical efforts alone, but through spiritual and energetic attunement as well, which means more ritual and ceremony for Mother Yemaya and Father Olokun. And that's in our Orisha tradition, but we're just talking about the ocean, which is the source of all life, which reflects the health of our planet. So more ritual and ceremony to honor, to cleanse, to clear, to also rebirth the relationship with our oceans is critical at this time. The collective may begin to embrace new ways of thinking about our environmental crises, seeing them not just as material problems to solve, but as spiritual callings to restore balance and harmony with the planet, Ashe. However, the shadow side of this is glorifying war, indiscriminate greed, and utter selfishness with no regard for other people or the planet. Okay, deep breath. That's the deep, dark shadow we're already seeing little glimpses of. Also, throughout here, I sent Yeye a note already. The spiritual activism class, level 1 and level 2, is getting bigger, and people are starting to find out that we're doing this, but that's going to be the foundation of the Jambalaya School, essentially. And so this supports us for the whole first 14 years of getting that school off the ground and making it real, getting it started, getting it set up so that our Mama Yeye can actually, for real, retire and become the consultant she dreams about becoming. So let's hold that vision for our elders, that they get to share their wisdom instead of working hard in their elder years. And especially for Mama Yeye, who's given so much to the whole community. The shadow of Neptune in Aries we look at as every activation has its shadow, and this one will manifest as confusion, disillusionment, and a tendency to become lost in delusions of grandeur about you, your identity, and physical rights. There is a dangerous immaturity to this energy that does not understand or care about the consequences to the whole web of life. There is a fragility and oversensitivity that often gets triggered into full-blown conflict that just causes more confusion, destruction, and chaos. Under this influence, there is a tendency to, again, idealize or glorify war and create conflict around personal boundaries. So that, too, is just a repetitive theme that comes up from every angle that we have to be mindful of. As individuals, it is likely to show up as a lack of accountability and no self-awareness. just delusional and selfish, okay? Weak-minded or ill-prepared people may become more emotionally reactive and violate your boundaries, physical or otherwise, creating or perpetuating the whole oppressed-oppressor vibe. These same folks will also lash out with indiscriminate anger and rage. They may not be able to clearly articulate what is wrong, they just know something is wrong. So they come out swinging. There's a tendency to expect a fight, so you end up getting one. Let's not do that, for real. The other issue that is likely to raise its head is more confusion about identity, not really seeing yourself clearly. That is when it becomes critically important to have community to reflect back and help you evolve instead of stagnate or drown. Deep breath. Inadequate personal boundaries are literally dangerous at this time. And truly, the best boundaries are going to be spiritual and energetic boundaries. Do not play. Self-preservation will be best served by your connection to your spirit team, your spiritual practices, and the soul work that you are able to do in alternate realms. 3D reality is in the throes of a major death, rebirth, and transformation. In the social and collective realms, we may encounter periods where collective ideals become distorted, where charismatic leaders manipulate spiritual narratives for their own gain, or where movements that began with pure intentions lose their way. How many times have we seen that? The challenge during this transit will be to maintain clarity of purpose and to remain rooted in our spiritual truths amidst the collective fog of illusion. Shadow aspects also include the potential for escapism, where individuals or groups may seek refuge in false realities or destructive ideologies. There will be a tendency to resist responsibility for change, falling into the trap of spiritual bypassing, a kind of avoidance of the hard work required to manifest true transformation. Victimhood and martyrdom may run rampant, with individuals not taking responsibility for their own choices and decisions, which always come with consequences of some kind. Deep breath. That's how I taught the young people in my life. Choices and consequences. No good, bad, right, or wrong. You make a choice, there's a consequence. Period. That's life on Earth. As a historical aside, the last time Neptune moved through Aries in the 1800s, which was a pivotal time in U.S. American history, and one which has run its course, I pray we do not repeat the same mistakes, but in the social collective environment, these issues are all back up again. Two major things that were created in 1865 are the Salvation Army and the KKK. On one side, we had the values of all people deserving the basic necessities of life, food, shelter, community, and learning how to be self-contained and independent, because that cultivates true character, true independence, and true self-esteem. On the other side, we had delusional hate, staggering ignorance, and unrelenting violence. We cannot repeat this cycle, y'all. We have to do this another way. And the truth about the cycles, many of you have heard me say this, but for my new people in the community, all cycles repeat throughout our lives. But every time one circles back, just like this big one, the other planets are in different positions, different angles, different energies beaming around us. So we have access to new responses. We are different. The people around us are different. Our circumstances are different. So every cycle, even though they repeat over and over, we get to respond in new ways. And so this is what we're calling in at this time. And these aren't the only cycles that are reverberating back, let's say, to the 17 and 1800s. There's a lot of reverberations that are up right now that each country could probably look at. But obviously, since I'm in the US, it's through that lens. And for those who don't know, or my international people, the Salvation Army was created in 1865 to make the church more accessible to the whole community at a time when many poor and working class people were excluded from churches, which I can't even fathom, because church is supposed to be for everybody. But look at how that's back up, and how the gap between the haves and the have-nots, the rich and the poor, and how they want that separation and that kind of divide and conquer so that we always stay weak. We want to stick together and be stronger in our individual communities, but then branch out to these larger communities. So for example, I have my own circle, but I'm also connected to Yeye's community. So that is a bigger circle. There are different ways that we can connect our small individual goals to these larger goals. Like I always say too, I care about the individuals. I say if the individuals get it together, the globe will be okay. But Yeye's a world server. Her whole life has been dedicated to bettering the world. And we are at that rebirth point where we get to call in this new vision that could be so supportive of nature and natural rhythms and still allow for advancement and technology to have a role. I just don't think it should dominate, but that's just my personal opinion. But like I was saying, for those who don't know, the Salvation Army started that way. They were serving people in need through community centers, hospitals, and rehab programs. So we're probably gonna have to create our own again. They fight hunger and poverty, which is also way up again, so people could remain independent and self-sufficient with their basic physical and spiritual needs met. This is so critical on a deeper level because they've monetized our necessities: air, water, earth, soil, all of the things that we need to survive. They have now commodified and we have to pay for them, which is not natural. And so we definitely want to be subversive and find other ways to be self-sufficient and provide for our own needs. I mean, this is a big call to get off the grid. If you really want to be independent, then there is a true split between those who are going to be part of this system, which we can see is broken, and those who are ready to form communities and be responsible for ourselves. Again, if we can do that, then we don't have to have other things imposed on us. But if you can't keep yourself together and you can't create order in your life, then yes, things will be imposed. With the Ku Klux Klan, that's a whole nother thing. They were also created, and at the time, it was a way to resist Reconstruction efforts in the South. This is in the US, particularly the rights of newly freed Black Americans. Initially, the Klan was more of a social club, but it quickly morphed into a violent white supremacist organization that used terror to maintain white control and oppose the political, social, and economic advancements of African Americans and other groups that were seen as a threat to white dominance. The Klan persists because of its ability to adapt its rhetoric to changing political climates. So don't get it twisted. They'll throw their story on a bigger story all day. It often works by exploiting fear, uncertainty, and social unrest to recruit members and promote its agenda. So, deep breath. They're waking up again. But we're also looking at this as their ancestors have not been dealt with, and a lot of stuff hasn't been dealt with. So we're doing that in our community rituals and ceremonies, especially with me and Yeye. That's a big part of the work, let's just say. In order to thrive and prosper, we have to restore a little balance first. And we have to heal first. Then we can expand. The rise of the new collective dream. This journey will likely illuminate a few hints on what new dream or vision you are birthing over the next 14 years. However, this is a collective planet, so it will also be a collective dream that we are contributing to for the next several years. It is challenging, but not impossible, to work with the collective planets. In this case, you will see so much dissolve around your individual power to function alone. You will need a community for this new adventure. You are not alone in your desire for sovereignty, free will, and choice, but we may have to clear and release some illusions or delusions in order to have that experience. The power is going to be in each of us being strong as individuals and then coming together against those who would enslave us further. Aries is the right to be here. And with Neptune, we are looking to have our own individual experience of or our relationship with God's source. Those born 1942 to 55, which Yeye's included, with their collective Neptune in Libra, may be able to assist us at this time. So, deep breath, turn to your elders to ask how we can respond in different ways. All right, we're getting there. I told you this was a long one. Neptune is about faith in that which you cannot see. It is all about personal spirituality and universal connection to all that is. Neptune in Aries is about spiritual courage, trusting your spirit team, and doing the spiritual work, which would be rituals, ceremony, daily practices, etc. Neptune blurs boundaries between you and others, and it reveals the depths of your soul self, that soul part of you that is connected to all other souls. Aries is action-oriented and completely sovereign, independent, and personally focused. These are slightly contradictory energies that we are going to have to navigate, embody, and express in some way. You may want to look at your Aries house for where the dissolution and redreaming or birth of a new dream will happen over the next 14 years. And for most of us, that crosses over, like starts early degrees in one house and the later degrees in another house. So we should be able to blend them. Depending on your age and stage of life, everyone's experience of Neptune in Aries will be customized. If you're in your 50s, like me, we all have about that 14 years to set up our elder years and the independence that we would like to have during that time in life. No matter how old you are, what is your deepest dream for your own sovereignty, identity, and purpose for this lifetime? We have to think bigger than our day-to-day life when dealing with the collective planets. Also, depending on your own Neptune placement and how that will interact with Aries energy is something else to consider. How do you naturally deal with your spiritual side, your soul self, and your place in the great cosmic dance? How has that evolved over the last 14 years? Okay, deep breath. So you can look at your Pisces house or houses and see what is dissolved in terms of your beliefs or your boundaries or your imagination and creativity and all the things that Pisces represents. As Neptune moves through Aries, the collective dream itself will begin to take on a new flavor. The energy of Aries calls for courage, action, and good personal boundaries, but Neptune asks for sensitivity, discernment, and vision. This tension will manifest in an unfolding narrative where, on one hand, you may feel a deep need to act, to change the status quo, and to confront the harsh realities of our world. And on the other hand, you may also be called to soften, to listen, and to understand the invisible forces that shape the course of your individual and our collective destiny. This period will see an emphasis on visionary leadership, but not the kind of leadership that demands conformity, but rather inspires passion and creativity. Leaders during this time will not be those who command from a place of authority, but those who can tap into the collective unconscious, bringing forward wisdom that feels universally resonant. Ashe. So it enters Aries March 30th of 25, retrogrades at 2 Aries July 4th of 25, retrograde, it re-enters Pisces October 22nd of 25, and then goes direct at 29 Pisces, which is a very juicy, powerful degree, December 10th of 25, and finally, once and for all the way into Aries by January 26th of 2026. So we have pretty much until October to feel this new energy and vibration and see how it may be affecting you individually so that you can choose your response. Okay, y'all, that is my first little introduction to Neptune moving into Aries. Like I said, annually we'll check in and we'll look at what it interacts with and look at other ways to sort of work with it consciously because it is a collective planet. We have to work in the subtle realms and long-term changes and evolution to consider. And I welcome your comments and questions. We have a free monthly community event. All are welcome to drop in periodically to look at these different alignments. April 10th of 2025 is when we will gather around this particular alignment, Neptune on the cusp of Pisces Aries, and we'll talk about those specific activations that may be happening in 2025 and how to navigate. All right, y'all, reach out directly when you need to. Join us when and where you can. This is Kelly Beard of Karmic Tools signing off.